Welcome everyone to the Darktide Zealot video. Today hopefully I'm going to be answering all of your burning questions about the Zealot, but if I have missed anything or anything else is cool with the class that you think would be good to add on, let me know in the comments. As the Zealot, if your group was a sword, you truly are the tip of it. You're charging forwards to deal with swarms, you deal with armoured, you deal with specialists, and you murder bosses. And when you're done doing that, you basically are a murderous boomerang that comes back to the group and deals with anything inside the group that they're struggling with at this moment in time. This leads to the first and the main ability of the Zealot, Chastise the Wicked. It's a dash or a charge that charges forward into an enemy, replenishes 50% of your toughness, increases your damage on the next melee hit by 25%, and guarantees it to be a critical hit. It's absolutely fantastic to use just after you've charged the heavy attack, and also is great for getting you into combat super early and getting you out of combat as required too. It's also an ability that I see a lot of people not using enough. You should be using this almost constantly whenever there's an enemy around. Remember as well, you do get 50% of your toughness back upon use. If you're there meleeing away, your toughness is low, you may want to use it even if you're not going to be charging anywhere, just because it gives you that toughness back. At the same time too, Fat Shark has confirmed that it is only 50% of the toughness you're getting back, not the original 100 that was originally reported. A huge part of this ability that seems to be unknown or definitely underutilized by a great deal of Zealots is that by holding F, you can actually highlight your target with almost like a red aura that appears around them. This actually means you can target who you're actually going to charge, which is fantastic for being specific, but it also means you're not going to be charging off a cliff, which is also a bonus. The last thing to note on the charge is that it does replenish 50% toughness, as said earlier. The good part about this is we do have curios that add to toughness too, so the higher your toughness, the more that 50% is going to be regenning every time, so load up on those curios. The other part of it too is at level 30 you do have two abilities, one that reduces the cooldown charge and the other one actually gives you two on two separate cooldowns. Again, giving you back that 50% and allowing you to cover great distances both to or from your targets. Next we have the Zealot Weapons. Now the weapons really do reflect what you actually want to do in the level itself and maybe even what your team needs you to do too. Another thing as well is if you are playing by yourself, it's sometimes a very good idea to have your melee and your range doing two different things. So if your melee is very good at dealing with armoured, maybe with the axe, then perhaps you should have a ranged weapon that's good at dealing with the hordes or swarms like with the flamethrower. On to the first weapon, the Eviscerator, one of my personal favourites. Number one, the light attacks are fantastic for dealing with swarms. The heavy attacks are also very fantastic for dealing with armoured as well as cutting through large groups. If you also do the special attack and then do a heavy attack afterwards, it will actually cut through the low HP mobs, hit a higher HP mob, and then actually start with the chainsaw animation. The special is also fantastic for taking away the shields and the health across bosses, armoured and specialists. Next comes the Thunder Hammer. Its light attack is great for dealing with armoured and specialists. The heavy attack is fantastic for dealing with swarms and keeping crowd control. The special charge attack, number one, has a great audio when it's charging and when it's hitting. Not only that, it does a ridiculous amount of damage when it does hit, and it's great for those high HP mobs as well as bosses. Next we have the ranged with the bolter, and man, I love the bolter. The noise, what it does, it's a fantastic weapon. This is a great gun for high impact, middle range shooting. Not only that, but if you actually right click, you can actually get quite a good aiming too. It really does provide those situations where you cannot be moving forward into melee. If you need to help with some fire support, the bolter really is there for you. The only negative I would say is it takes way too long to reload this gun. Next comes the Flamer, and if anything says Zealot, it's definitely the Flamer. So the Flamer is great for dealing with swarms, the armoured and the specialists, especially if they're all bunched up together. It's not too bright, so unlike other Warhammer games, it doesn't blind your teammates, which is fantastic. Not only that, but the closer you are to your enemies, the more damage you're going to do, and the longer you keep the Flamer on them, the more damage and dots you're going to do on them too. Also, please don't forget that the talent Emperor's Execution, dealing up to 25 increased damage based on your proximity, is a must if you are using the Flamer. There are other weapons that work fantastically with the Zealot too. The lasgun is a personal favourite for those range encounters, as well as the axe for headshot damage, but I want to keep this video reasonably short and sweet, so let me know if you do want another video on a little bit more detail across all the weapons. Moving on to the feats. Now the Zealot's feats, in my opinion, are very good. They're free to change around too, so there's no reason that you shouldn't give every single feat here a try, see what kind of works with different playstyles. It's fantastic to play and test with them. Personally myself, some of the big ones that I just cannot live without is number one, the double charge here. I absolutely adore it. It's basically how I play my Zealot. This one up here too though, reducing the cooldown on it, is also a fantastic one for the Zealot too. The damage stacking is fantastic for bosses and high HP mobs, as well as if you are using, for example, a flamer or a bolter. That increased damage based on proximity to the target is fantastic too. These are the ones here about just avoiding stun, increasing your toughness, and if you are hitting 3 or more enemies, so if you are dealing with those swarms, which is more than likely, you're basically becoming uninterruptible here too at the same time as well as the toughness regen that's actually occurring down here if 3 or more enemies are within range, which is more than likely to be the case. One of the other things to note as well is we do have a stun grenade as our actual grenade. This is fantastic for if range are shooting at you and you've got to cover some ground without your charge. Also, it's fantastic for clutch rezzing too, so if someone's down on the ground and they're surrounded, throw a stun grenade down and you should be able to resurrect them with no issues at all. Another interesting build is the low HP one, basically combining Martyrdom and Unto Death to do ridiculous damage. What it basically means is several feats like Honor Thy Martyr increase the Martyrdom stacks, as well as Holy Revenant, allowing us to heal after Unto Death actually procs, as well as certain other feats too, like increasing power when we get those Martyrdom stacks, and increasing attack speed and damage when below a certain health. This is a fantastic high damage build. I would recommend doing this only in pre-made groups. I've done this in several random lobbies, and in one of them an Ogryn refused to leave the Medicum station until I'd actually healed to full, despite the fact I explained multiple times that I was running a low HP build. Such is the way with good boy Ogryns. When it comes to the 3-bar and above Malice difficulties, one thing that is good to note is that the majority of damage my groups seem to be taking at the moment has come from range attacks, basically whittling away at our toughness and health. The Zealot really can mitigate this quite a bit. The other good thing too is if you have like a squad of lasgunners, enemy lasgunners together, and you actually charge and melee one of them, it does seem to mean that they'll all start attacking you with melee, effectively reducing all of their firepower onto your team into just melee at you. In which case I highly recommend you slash, dodge and block as much as you can. Just remembering as well that after the 3rd dodge, your dodge amount gets reduced, so just maybe block for a few seconds before starting to dodge again. Never get into the middle of these groups, always down the outskirts, creating like a circle or a half moon, and just trying to keep them occupied until your team can catch up and deal with them. And that's it for the video, guys. If you think I've missed anything that's good for a Zealot to know on the playthrough, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you have a great day.